Hey everyone, welcome to the BetSperts Golf Valspar Championship betting preview / first look show. I'm Ryan Noonan, excited to be joined by our lead PGA analyst here at BetSperts Golf and 4 for 4. You know him as PGA Splits 101 on Twitter. It's Ron Kloss. Ron, welcome back. Very long Players Championship. How you holding up?
Yeah, we made it. It was a marathon. The weather was crazy. I can't imagine what some of those players this week, routine is going to be different, but looking forward, the show moves on.
Yeah, we've already seen early here on Tuesday morning, some Doug Gim, Paul Casey, who, has rolled out of bed and won here a couple years in a row. So, some popular picks have already called quits for the week. I'm probably guessing we see some more, especially high-level players, guys that, don't necessarily need the FedEx Cup points, don't necessarily need the paycheck per se, maybe call it quits after. But again, Jacksonville to Tampa is not a massive trip. But again, like you said, their routines are all messed up. But also joining us, someone that you know as an expert in a different sport, but turns out he is also an alpha at this golf thing as well, coming off of a big ticket last week on Cam Smith at the Players. It is CBS's senior NFL writer, also the host of the PickSix Podcast. It's Will Brinson. Will, what's going on, buddy?
What's up? A couple of things. One, thank you. I mean, look, I'm glad that I don't. I mean this like kind of sarcastically, but not really. Like, I'm glad that I qualify for the Valspar. Like, so you're like you're not gonna bring on an NFL writer for like the Masters, right?
Oh, here's the thing though. Here's what I'm going to push back on. This is week 2. You're our first external guest on this show.
Okay. All right. That's
so
fair.
Yeah, theoretically, yes, Valspar, but like in the grand scheme of things,
you need to loop me back in for the Wyndham because that's my specialty because it's local. And the other thing I was gonna say, I meant to tweet this out on Monday night when the tournament finished. It is Tuesday, right? I had a donuts with dads thing this morning, so I'm like kind of at like 7:15 this morning, so I'm loopy already. But I was gonna say that I thought it was really interesting. They didn't play it up at all throughout the course of the week. But then after the tournament, when Cam Smith's family was there, he hadn't seen his mom and sister in 2 years. And he got really emotional about it. And I started to think about it. I sort of wonder if the delay, the 2-day delay, like was easier for him because he wasn't thinking it like he's not thinking about golf. He's sitting around, he's like it actually like benefited him because instead of them flying in, and him having to like, okay, like I'd love to spend time with you guys, but I got to grind on this course. He like somehow got a free 2-day like window in the course where he got to sort of, see his parents for the first time in 2 years, see his sister for the first time in 2 years. And I sort of wonder how that just puts you in a great headspace going into this, like he just didn't care when he was closing out. And I mean, I know that's,
we saw that a little bit on 18.
Yeah. I mean, when he made the birdie on 17, and what a nut up shot that was. I mean, I didn't hear all the press conference. I don't know if like anybody asked me if that was the line he meant to take. I mean, he's a ballsy, aggressive, iron player, so it wouldn't be surprising. I'm curious if like when he made the birdie, you just got to hit 2 irons and a wedge and make a putt. And get out of there with your par. Because like if Cam Smith off the tee on 18 with an iron is not going to leave himself a shot into the green, but he's sure as hell going to leave himself another approach and then a free and we saw he stuffed the chip. Like he had no business pulling driver out there. I get it. You want to be aggressive, but I mean, I don't know. His driver betrayed him several times. He had that with the duck hook on 16 that like looked like me over swinging. And then he'd gone in the water. Anyway, it was very excited for Cam to win. Love Cam Smith as a player. 5th time in Aussie has won at the Players, which is something that we should definitely keep in mind moving forward.
Yeah, no, it was great. He did say that he wanted to be aggressive. He won the birdie on 17, and that was the mindset too on 18, picking driver out of the bag, knowing that okay, this is how I've got here. I want to continue to play my game, not do the I believe it was Phil, right? Did Phil do like 7 iron, couple putts to win a major a few years ago. So, which is very un-Phil historically, right?
I mean, Tiger did it too at the Masters. He's like, I'm just gonna get, like I'm, Tiger never gets emotional. He's like, that 18, that walk up on 18. He's like, okay, I gotta keep this in check and just make sure I give myself a putt to win.
And we don't always think about it. I know we know of some guys that call, these courses home courses, but I didn't know Cam Smith basically lives in the Jacksonville area and this is like his practice course. Like
I didn't either.
that stuff is, I think, maybe somewhat noisy, but I guess it would be good for us to at some point in the off season to just kind of grab some of that information and have it. It sounds like a project that Ron would, get all excited about doing if he hasn't already started working on it. So you just kind of grab all those things because it's definitely worthwhile. He's not, he's seen all these pin placements. Just the reps of, we think of, course history, guys played well here. It's literally 4 rounds once a year. So like how noisy is that sample? We know it is. So if these guys are being able to spend, occasional off weekends firing at these pins, there's probably something to that.
Oh, I think like I was saying before the show, like if you have me back on for the Wyndham, because I played Sedgefield a bunch. Like I mean, I do think like I think you have to sort of weigh it. You have to be careful how much you weigh the course history and the course knowledge and all that. But as a golfer, like it just helps if you know where to hit on a course and you don't have to. You're not spending Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday trying to figure it out. You're sort of fine tuning your shots and like fine tuning your distances and your attack points.
Yeah. I've always gone back and forth and struggled with that because it always makes me think of like I'm not sure how much you've got into like baseball historically, where you get into like batter versus pitcher conversations, right? When you're like, okay, so there's significantly small sample. So it's probably insignificant data, right? Like just, we don't have enough actual plot points to be able to say that that's not noise or it's actionable. But if you've ever been in a batter's box against a guy that you're very comfortable with, there's just something to that, even though the sample might be small. If you're playing a course that you're very comfortable with, there is something to knowing where I can miss and where I can't miss, and knowing, okay, I know how I hit this shot historically. Like there's just something to that. And I know we can't put that in a model and we can't actually properly equate for it. But I don't know. I think that there's definitely something there. And, off-season project, Ron, we'll have to find a way to gather these home courses and who's playing where.
Ron's like, off-season. Damn it.
Put it on BetSperts, betsperts.com, betspertsgolf.com.
Yeah, we are live. Betspertsgolf.com is live. It's free right now. We're just getting off the ground. It is shocking, really hard to build really cool golf tools in a very short period of time. So in the meantime, all the content is free. All the shows, obviously, we have a DFS show later this afternoon with Ron, John Daigle, and myself. Trying to unpack what's going on here at the Valspar. Like we said, this is going to be more of a first look show because some books have really been posted cards within the last hour or so. So like the boards are very, very new, and again they'll be evolving because we're expecting some guys to take the week off after the 5 days at the Players. So again, our goal is to be your one and only shop eventually, where you can come in, look at all of our tools, all your research over the site. Really excited about all that we have going on over there. So subscribe to the newsletter. It's down here in the show notes. That's going to continue to keep you in the loop on all the information, all the ways to get discounts once we go behind the paywall. The best deal to do that right now is to scoop a betting sub at 4 for 4. Betting sub is going to take you through next February, all sports. We are knee deep in college basketball right now. Prop tools on the college side, which has really been advantageous for us. We've been very profitable in a short time since posting that. Obviously, NFL, NBA, NASCAR, MMA coming very shortly. Lots of cool stuff going on. That sub is going to get you a free sub for betspertsgolf.com. So best way to do it, very cheap. And obviously that deal right now runs through the Masters. Price is going up after the Masters. So take advantage of that. Currently it is discounted down to $169 for a year, which is just a steal. So definitely check that out. So I want to get into a little bit of theory here before we even start on obviously talking about guys. Will, talk to me about your general betting approach. Like, is there a way that you approach a card when you look at, the board this week? Are you looking at allocating a certain number of funds to outrights? Is there how do you kind of decide how you want to play the week out?
All right. So, I mean, like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm bad at bankroll management, and that's fine. But like,
it helps when you cash big winners like what you did yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've gotten like 4 outrights so far this year. So, I mean, and most of them are pre-tournament. I've gotten better. I would say I've gotten better about tightening up my outright usage, and particularly, going into the Players, I had gotten some down on DJ pretty good but he was like 35-1. I didn't have anybody that was shorter than 30-1, I don't think. And that was by design because of the chaos that I thought could end up happening. I guess it depends. Like it depends tournament to tournament, right? Like if, so for instance, this tournament, I've already bet Keegan, Gary Woodland, Cameron Tringale, who I'm a little, but and I should have gotten a better number last night, but I fell asleep. And then oh god, who was the other person I bet? It's basically pure course fit guys. I ran my proprietary model, which is where I play my son's Switch, and I play the PGA 2K1 game, and I if they have the official courses, then I'll go in there and see how they fit. And I really do think there's a particular. Oh, and Harold Varner was the other guy I played, and so all those guys are 60. I guess Keegan is 60, and then everybody else is like 67 to 1 or longer. And that's sort of what I wanted to do now, because I think the schedule we're looking at for the golf is that crap, am I looking at 2021? No, it's 2020. So it's different. The schedule is different than it was last year.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
World Golf Championships, the WGC match play are next week. And then you have, of course, the Valero and then the Masters. So I sort of wonder, I'm curious what you guys think too. Like, I mean, if I'm Dustin Johnson and I just spent, it's going to depend golfer to golfer. If you just spent a lot of time grinding on, at the players and grinding on Sawgrass in tough conditions, and you feel like your schedule is all funked up, and you want it's depend player to player, because if you want to skip this week and go to the match play, anybody could get knocked out, like you could be done quick, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're not guaranteed a lot of warm-up rounds. But I think people, the big names, may look at the Masters and say, all right, I want to kind of get in my routine and get back in my rhythm as we get closer to the Masters. Maybe there's enough time for it for everybody. And maybe they want to play at the Valspar. I think if Valspar is a course that people like playing at, and you see big names play, I just sort of wonder how much the weather and the players is going to throw that off.
Yeah, what do you think there, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, I think a guy like DJ with his reputation, like, kind of carefree, seems like he doesn't care sometimes. A guy like him, I could see him, he shoots a bat around on Thursday and, it kind of bails out. And, a guy like Morikawa who missed the cut, I could see him, I mean, he seems like he's hungry all the time. JT's another one where I can see him going full bore here. So I think you kind of almost have to look at each golfer's personality, their reputation, what they've done in the past, and kind of make that judgment call on what you think is good value based on what you see.
Yeah, there's not a lot of guys that play in the Valero either. So that feels like a week. The guys think, they get to Augusta a little early, get out there versus playing and making that short transition from, Texas to Georgia that next week. So to your point, though, maybe they want to get those reps in, assured reps here at the Valspar, knowing that they could really be, one and done. You're still going to get in 3 rounds at the match play, even if you get bounced, but definitely have that extra time. So it is where maybe we're not going to see some of the top name guys bounce this week like we thought because of that.
And that doesn't mean that I won't bet any of the top guys. It just means that, like, these numbers aren't going to get that much shorter, right?
For sure.
I mean, there's like 6 dudes under 20 to 1, which is kind of, I mean, I feel like the books have really started to tighten these up, and maybe those are tighter because they don't want, Rahm to withdraw, for just hypothetically, and then all of a sudden, you've got Colin Morikawa at 15 to 1, and everybody pounces on that, and and then they have to move him down to 9 to 1 or whatever it is, or I guess if I'm going to bet, I'm going to get one of these bigger names on my card at some point. It's just going to, again, this is my larger point of strategy for outrights this week, is I'm going to pepper some of these guys in the 60 range who I think fit the course and who have good form, ball strikers, guys who hit the ball straight off the tee. I'm not really worried about whether or not they're good putters, although, you go back and look at last year's leaderboard at the Valspar is insane. You have to go all the way down to JT at 13, tied for 13th, to find somebody who lost strokes putting, and like the strokes gained putting numbers are absurd. Like 9.1 for Sam Burns, 6.4 for Cameron Tringale. What? Like, who is that? Abe Nancer 9.4. Max Homa 5.7. Vaughn Taylor 9.2. Louis and Neiman over 5. I mean, I think there's somebody on here who's just a terrible putter who gained like 5 too.
Keegan was like barely plus, but he was like,
oh yeah, Keegan gained strokes putting. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so, I mean, to me, it's just very clear. Like, you need to be a good tee to green player who can get hot with the putter. And so there's a little bit of luck involved there. And so that's why I kind of want to pepper that the deeper range now, because I think some of those guys could come down if we get WDs.
Yep.
If that makes sense from a strategy perspective.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how Ron and I have shaped our cards so far early this morning too. Is I don't think we have any top of the board plays, but we both fired into that mid and deep round range too. Ron, talk to us about this course. Obviously, a little unique, difficult track, unusual dispersion of holes too, with the par threes, and those are long par threes and challenging. And obviously, we'll hear about the Snake Pit will be your weekly drinking game. Anytime they mention that this week, throw back a little shot at tequila. But talk to us about Copperhead and what to expect this week.
Yeah, so we've got a par 71 course, 7,340 yards. We've got 5 par 3s, so that's definitely different. Typical, still the 4 par 5s. So we have one less par 4, basically. So taking that off a little bit on my my model metrics there. You talked about the Snake Pit, that closing 3-hole stretch that some consider one of the toughest in golf. So this is in Florida, but it feels like a Carolina course. And maybe Will can speak to this, being from that area. But yeah, you got a lot of rolling hills, and you just don't see that type of property down in Florida. It's right on the Pinellas Peninsula, just miles away from the Gulf of Mexico. So that's a little different. This course has played 0.81 strokes over par the last 5 years, the 5th toughest non-major. As far as grass goes, we've got overseeded rye on the fairways and the rough. We got 3-inch rough. The greens are pretty much still with the Bermuda being dormant this time of year. It's Poa Trivialis, so very similar to what we saw last week at Sawgrass, going back to Scottsdale, those same types of greens. And I think that's why, going back to Keegan real quick, who I also got at 55-1, he just, for some reason, these greens, he has some success on. So I think there definitely is something there. Larry Packard is the designer of this course, and 12 dog legs. I had to look it up myself and look at the layout. There's actually 4 double dog legs, and that's kind of what he's famous for as a designer. So you really have to shape the ball both ways here. When you look at the player quotes, the article I put on BetSports Golf yesterday, so many players talk about having the ability to shape your shots all different directions here. So I think that's going to be key, someone who's very able to do that. You got fairways that are 28 feet wide only, the 5th narrowest fairways on tour. So combine that surrounded, basically the fairways are so tight with these pine trees around them. And so accuracy off the tee is going to matter this week, even though distance is not going to come into play again. You got 6 water hazards. You got a lot of elevation changes. So just a lot of different things that make this course pretty tough. And so that's just all the way around off the tee, greens and regulation. It's among the toughest on tour.
Yeah, the last, to Will's point, like the Sammy Burns 17 under winning score last year, and there's some other guys that get close. It's just kind of an outlier historically when you look at what the winning score has been here. Paul Casey won back-to-back years, 10 under, 8 under. Hadwin's competed here. He got real hot with the putter at 14, but then you've had some, 7s and 10s. And so it's not a place where they typically go super duper low. So,
well, and let's not forget last year, I guess because it had to be COVID related, right? But it was played in the last weekend of April.
Yeah.
So you're talking about much different course conditions too, where maybe it's a little, I guess, firmer, because I don't think the greens are, in other words, like guys like Sammy Burns and Keegan can, you're getting extra rollout, easier to attack greens that are, again, this is off me playing on the Switch, but like, I know that sounds crazy. I do.
No, it doesn't actually. I think it's a great idea. I know Andy does it. We
Andy
post the show.
Yep. Andy stole it from me. That's fine.
Okay.
I don't mind ripping your.
No, we can rip Andy.
Yeah.
We know we'd rip Andy if he was here.
Andy and I, me, Andy, Cal, and J Maz did we're in a one and done, and we got Galaxy Brain at the last minute on Wednesday night and pivoted off like a high level player to Cam Smith, which is pretty exciting. At any rate, I digress. But I think the course conditions are a little different, but all the stuff that Ron just said definitely applies. Like to me, when you play the course again on the Switch, you can see that if you miss these super narrow fairways, it's extremely penal, not just because the rough is difficult, but because there are tons of trees in the way. And now you can scramble out of it, but it's like just the way the course is designed. And especially when you get to the Snake Pit, like you can't be missing fairways.
Yeah.
If you're missing fairways, you're going to be out of position, and it's going to force you to make aggressive plays. And it's going to result in penalties, water balls, and so I really think the OTT you don't have to be that long, but you need to be hitting the greens. I'll tell you who, if I thought he was remotely healthy, and I don't know what his number is, but I bet it's longer than it should be. Webb Simpson would be a really interesting play in this spot. Oh, 60-1. I mean, yeah, I just think there's something wrong with his neck right now, and it's too hard to trust. But like, you know, you go to Data Golf and you look at the comps, and I take that with a grain of salt, but like, you know, Muirfield concession, multiple Sea Island courses. You have Sedgefield pops up. So, you know, to your point, Ron, yes. I mean, I think there are absolutely more similarities with it's like a North South Georgia course, or a South Carolina North Harbor Towns on there than maybe a true Florida course that we're used to.
Yeah, I just was in Hilton Head, and my strokes gained pine straw was pretty weak for the week. It was not very good, you know, but it was definitely something. I found the pine straw a lot. But to your point, when we look at the concession, a couple, you know, again, we played one event at the concession, but we had a T6 from Webb, and he wasn't even good putter. He was like the worst putter in the field that week and still finished T6 because he was pretty immaculate tee to green. So yeah, I mean, when you look at, there's some pretty strong correlations referencing that course match tool over at Data Golf with the concession and with Muirfield. And again, random one-offs too. So it's really tough. But when you look at the top of the leaderboard, you know, Morikawa won both events. So if we are going to get into a ball striker's paradise, if we are going to shoot at the top of the board, he also didn't make the weekend. And it doesn't mean, like, he obviously was jacked up as well with his schedule, but again, he didn't have to play on Monday when everyone else did. So maybe there's something to that if you were, you know, referencing a guy that maybe didn't have quite the grind that everyone else did. But again, it's Morikawa, Hovland, both first and second in both of those courses. JT was second in one, 13th in another. So again, ball strikers, long iron players, because again, we're going to deal with a lot of long par threes, and we're going to deal with a lot of long shots because of the forced double dog legs that this guy is designed for them to play. So you definitely want to find fairways. Those aren't always fairway finders though either, to your point. Like, you know, those guys are, when they are wrong, especially JT, he is spraying it off the tee a little bit. So
Colin feels pretty good here. I mean, yeah, especially coming off the missed cut, but we're not really getting a discount given the field, right? I mean,
never.
You need like 12-1 or something. I mean,
yeah. So the shortest Colin I could find, these 12. Yeah, basically everywhere. PointsBet, FanDuel. Yeah, he's 12 is the best Colin number, which is really tough. Like, it's just really tough to ever bet that number. I mean, it doesn't mean that they obviously can't win. He's some of the best players in the world. It just is. I mean, such a high variant event.
Looking at Fantasy National, not to cite. I don't think they're not a competitor, right?
Yeah, well, you know, they will be eventually.
Okay. Anyway, I mean, looking at Fantasy National, it has a like tour average 17.5 shots, approach shots from 175 to 200, and here it's 23.9. So you're just hitting longer irons and right on the tour average for 200 plus. I mean, so you're just there's a couple spots where you're forced to hit, you know, like 3-wood or 5-wood. And even on a longer hole, which is just going to obviously lead to longer iron shots and approaches.
Yeah, Ron, if you were to go at the top of the board, where would you go?
Yeah, I mean, just going to what Will said. I mean, 54% of shots are from 175 plus, which is one of the highest on tour. So, I mean, when you look at those top three, Hovland, Thomas, Morikawa, I mean, what do they do well? They hit their long irons well, so it makes it tough to pick one. I know scrambling, different people say, you know, some people say it's really important here. Obviously, when you're missing as many greens as they're going to miss here, scrambling is going to come into play. So, you know, I guess with Victor, you kind of worry about that still.
He was so bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah.
And also one random observation, sorry, not to interrupt you, Ron, but on the Vic chipping too, like, did y'all see the thing with him and Berger and Dahmen?
Yeah.
Where they were, I mean, for a professional golf event, like that's about as heated as a discussion as you'll see on a course about a spot for a drop. And Vic played those final 3 holes 1 over after and had some like really bad chips. And I just sort of wonder, and he hadn't been chipping well, and his sand game has been awful for the last couple of weeks. But I just sort of wonder if like that whole thing kind of threw him off a little bit to close out the tournament. I mean, it would kind of mess with my head if I had a 10-minute argument with two other golfers, you know?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Anyway. Damon didn't want to talk about it after, but Vic did. And you could tell, like, when you think about the demeanor of the two guys too, right? Like, Berger seems like a bulldog, And he was actually a little bit more chill than I would expect Berger to be based off of his.
Nick was like more aggressive than I thought he
was.
Yeah.
He like I heard him his post press conference. He was like, "Listen, like I have to protect the other guys in the field who weren't here and couldn't see it, and it's not about Daniel. It's just about like, and you feel strongly that that's what you saw. That's what I saw, and I just couldn't. I wasn't willing to back down because
one guy in Berger had, he had an angle where he thinks it's going, but you can't. And those other two guys are standing like looking sideways at it. I mean, if two guys in your group are saying you need to drop here, you can't. I mean, take the L.
Yeah, and you're playing for $3.6 million, so you're not going to give anything away in that. So
exactly.
Yeah. No, it was definitely interesting to see for sure. It was, and Damon to back out was not. I would have been interested to see what he had to say too, but yeah.
By the way, Casey bailing on this tournament is extremely disappointing because I think he's a guy at the top of the board, just the way he's been playing.
Yeah.
In his history here, I think he wasn't like 22-1 would have been probably someone I would have at least looked at.
Yeah.
And one thing on Morikawa that, has me, if I had to pick one of those top three, I'm going JT. Morikawa over his last 24 rounds, he's actually 41st in the field from 175 to 200. Mm-hmm. And on these greens, these Poa Trivialis greens, he's 120th in the field. So I just think the most confidence is going to be for JT with me. Not that I'm going to go there at, I think 1100, 11 to 1 on FanDuel is his best number right now. So that's tough to swallow. But he would be my top guy if I'm choosing one of those three.
Yeah, Sam Burns, defending champion, best number at Sam, 25. There's some 20s, 22s. Obviously, he collapsed in a pretty big way yesterday and really had been propped up for the most part by a hot putter, and definitely a guy that is, we can't go there if we need fairways because he's been kind of all over the place. Do you think he is someone that we would look at, Ron, if he starts to get a little longer on the board, or is he just kind of a cross-off for you this week considering how he played?
Yeah, everything he went through those last, 27 holes, just being on top and then falling back, and like you said, he was playing out of the rough, out of the tree line so many times. So yeah, he's not someone I'm going to go to this week.
Was he 54 hole leader?
Yeah, well, he was definitely 54. He was the leader in the odds, but I think he was tied with Hoagie? They were close.
Okay, yeah. That's right. Yeah. Just offhanded thought about that. When Burns, in fact, it was last year. Burns at the Genesis had it like locked up at Riv and completely gagged.
Yeah,
and then his game really fell off for the next 2 weeks. But it wasn't like a physical skill set thing. It was like clearly he was bothered by what had happened, and he struggled for a couple of weeks, and then he won the Valspar. And so for his first win to actually finally break through. So like clearly the form was there. I just sort of wonder, knowing what happened post Riv, and you can go look at the numbers. You're like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
I just sort of wonder. I'm not saying he's like can't handle it mentally because he's got the wins under his belt, but it's like, does that, knowing he was leading after 54 holes at the Players, stick with him as a little bit of a hangover here?
You could see it, I thought, yesterday on the course. Like that place got crazy. It got bunched up, and you could just kind of see it on his face that he was just
struggling to like make a push. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just kind of stuck out of him. So there's something to that for sure. I know, Ron, you fired at a few in this next tier. Talk to us about some of the plays that you've already played here. And again, kind of first look, we're early. We can't really get, into the weeds like we would because we just haven't had time to really process, the data from last week, the odds that have come out. It's really hard to get into any positional bets, but talk to me about some of the plays. I know you've sprinkled some outrights here this morning.
Yeah, I jumped on Answer and Kokrak right away. I just think this course fits Answer really well. Just fairway finder. He started to show some life last week. I've got him, as far as course history goes, he had two really good appearances here, finished 5th, finished 16th. Just a guy who, he's shown he can win. And at those odds, I'll take 35 to 1 any day on him. Kokrak's another one who, what I get him at 40. So I think he's dropped a little since then, but just really good on these tough condition type courses. And so he's one. And then I may regret it, but I took Louis 24. 24 was the best number. Yeah, he was like 16, 20 everywhere else on FanDuel. So, he has the actual best course history here. And, 8th, 2nd, 16th, 7th. I don't know how long I'm going to keep going to him, but he's, as we all know, he's due. So those are kind of the three top ones that I took right away.
Nice course history with Kokrak here too, with a couple 8th, 2nd, and 13th in the last 3 years.
And it does, like you sort of picture the course and how it plays, and Kokrak makes a ton of sense. I mean, just long, straight off the tee, can hit those irons in. If he gets a putter rolling, he can get nuclear. And we've got, he won at Houston, obviously back in November with the irons going real low, struggled to the Century, but has made the last 4 cuts and is positive on approach and has some pretty good putting numbers. Like, it wouldn't be, what number did you get on Kokrak, Ron?
It was 40.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
He's like 33, maybe. I see answer 30 on my local.
And he's 10th on these greens. So these Poetry Realis greens, he's 10th. So
yeah, Bet Rivers still has a 40 on Kokrak.
Oh my God, Kokrak's down to 32 on my local.
Yeah.
How do y'all feel? I mean, how do y'all feel about? Because I can't bet at Bet Rivers. How would you feel about a 32 on Kokrak? Is that too short?
Probably not. I in that same range. I like Matthew Fitz a little bit more, and I like to see
Fitz is down to like 21. I think Fitz is getting peppered.
Yeah, when Casey dropped, Fitz started to fall really quick.
Okay, and Ben Coley and somebody else tipped, as they say across the pond, tipped Fitz, and I think that probably caused him to get, because similar play. I mean, he missed the cut. He was a favorite, very popular and chalky. At the Players, especially in DFS, and I would assume is very popular now. Kokrak and Answer are borderline equal at this point. All right, so these odds are crashing, man. Keegan's 50.
Yeah.
I got Fitz at 24 here.
Jeez. Yeah, he's I got him this morning, probably an hour ago, 33 on on PointsBet. I think he's down to like 25, 28 in a lot of places, it looks like. But he just didn't putt well. Like, one of the best putters in the world, couldn't make a putt at the Players. A lot of the other things coming in, like, I understood why he was chalk in DFS. I understood why people steamed him in the betting market, because I is not a guy that I typically play or bet historically because of how he does it. Just a lot of what I call smoke and mirrors. I mean, it's an incredible skill set to be able to chip and putt your way to top 10s all the time, but it's not as predictive as immaculate tee to green game. And he has been doing that for the last couple of months. So, he just didn't putt yesterday.
If he's a net even putter in Jacksonville, he's through the cut and he's probably making some noise.
Yeah, so I like that number on him.
Yeah,
and he shows well in, again, some of the small sample corollary courses at Concession in Muirfield with some decent finishes there too.
Am I going to bet Fitz, Kokrak, and Answer and just call it a day? My outrights here is that might.
It's a nice little mid range. Yeah,
I mean, it's just the I mean, and again, like, I'm sort of in a tough spot because I'm not going to get I'm just not going to get a good I can't shop around as easily.
Yeah,
I see I think JT is also under 10-1 now, and Colin's at 10-1. I mean, it's just, between Rom, JT, and Colin, because Rom and DJ, right?
No Rom here. But
no Rom. That's right. DJ's 15-1. Okay, so JT's been under 10-1. Sorry. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, best we have here in legals would be 11 on FanDuel. Those might disappear as well.
The Monday golf is really I mean, you have your set schedule. It's like Monday, started to do my initial research, maybe fire out a couple bets, and like Tuesday, now it's like anyway,
totally different beast.
Yeah, I think a Kokrak, Answer, Fitz all make total sense as guys who, again, with the course history, just the way they play, they're going to be finding fairways. That's why, again, like with JT, I love JT. He can go win this tournament by 20 strokes if he gets nuclear. But he's also spraying it. He can spray it, and then all of a sudden he's in trouble. So
yeah,
I think I'll probably look more in this 20 to 25 to 30 range to start my card, is my guess.
Sounds like we all have early Keegan tickets, and that makes sense too. Just ball striking, and again, if he marks his putt correctly on Thursday, he's in a very different position.
Or doesn't chip through the freaking into the water.
Yeah. Full Keegan experience there. But also we had the full Keegan experience was Bubba Watson. I got down on Bubba. I think this is a decent, again, talking about shot shaping. This is a place where he can do it. He absolutely collapsed on the weekend. He was nails, just like JT was with that bogey-free golf. in the storm basically on Saturday, and then just absolutely collapsed with like 78s and 76s on rounds 3 and rounds 4. But again, we know ball striking is a premium. It's never really a problem for Bubba. He has fared well here historically, and then kind of plays well at some of the comp courses too. Any interest here in Bubba, Ron? What do you think about what happened on the weekend? Is there anything to that, or is that just kind of, Bubba, we know, is a guy that can get to himself between the ears?
Maybe. I don't know. I did take him. He was 75-1 early this morning, which is an unbelievable number considering what he's done here the past 2 years. He finished 13th here last year and then 4th the year before. He's flat out said he loves this course just because he likes to be creative. And so the ability to shape his shots. So I definitely probably wouldn't go above 50, but at his name, he's got the win equity. And so, the weekend, I don't know what I would attribute that to, but just coming here, strength of field is less here. So I think, he's got as good a chance of anyone in that kind of mid range to end up winning.
Yeah, that's you like to hear that they like the course at least. So that's something when we get down here. I'm just trying to look at the board and see. So you got a Varner number. Varner is 80 on points bets and 40 in other places. That is just out of principle. You almost have to take the 80 because you feel like it's such a bad number. What did you get Varner at, Will?
I got Varner at 70-1, I think, or like nice. 69. I think I bet 3 guys at 69-1, just to
out of principle.
Out of principle, yeah, that's right. I just took some Bubba actually at 55-1. I think the course history and man, you look at him and it's wild how he gained 7.7 strokes on approach at Phoenix, finishes 14th, loses strokes putting. No surprise there. Loses strokes on approach at Riv, which is nuts because that's like his spot.
Yeah. And
then he's just all over this tournament at the Players, and all of a sudden he's like you say, he collapses, right? And he finishes with minus 6.4 on approach. And I sort of wonder if the weather and the timing and all that didn't affect him. Like, I don't know. It felt like some of those even the bigger names guys, once it got a little bit later in the tournament, and they like Rahm Sunday, just an abject disaster. And you don't see that round from Rahm, but it's like, I just sort of wonder if, they started to realize like there's not enough holes out here for me, and the frustration sets in. It's a really difficult course. You're missing fairways, you've been grinding stop, start, no golf for 24 hours for 5 days that you're just like, F it, I'm done. And you just start firing in the water. And so Bubba to me looks like somebody who's ready to pop off for a win.
I took Bubba at 55 as well. I did not get the 75 that Ron did, but
75 is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I saw the 75 and I was really jealous. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to not bet 55 because I still think it's a bettable number because he does have win equity. Like we get down to this next tier, and there's real questions around who could actually win. Like these are where I'm more comfortable betting on these guys to top 10, top 20. Looking at current form, maybe how they're playing with a guy like Russell Knox and Adam Hadwin. Like I love Hadwin this week. I think it's a terrific place for him. He is striking the absolute hell out of it of late. But do I think he wins here? I don't know. Probably not. What are your thoughts on Hadwin? Did you get a Hadwin ticket, Ron?
Yeah, I took him at 75. When I ran my pre-model, he was like 7th overall, which kind of blew me away. But he's another one who again flat out says,
I got him 7th too, actually.
Yeah. He flat out says he loves these putting greens. He doesn't like the pure Bermuda, but these poet type greens that he puts really well at. He had a really great. Obviously, we saw him on Monday. It was make the run. He's someone that kind of shocked me with how high he was, and I definitely jumped on him. Gary Woodland's another one where I got him at 80, which again was a little bit surprising considering how well he's been playing. Like he just had 2 5th-place finishes in Florida, and so I'm not going to put a lot into the miscut last week, just with all the conditions. But I love what I see from him. He looks like he's completely healthy again, and so he's another one that is a guy with win equity who's a lot of experience, done it in the past. It doesn't have the best course history here, but definitely.
He's got one top 10.
Oh, does he? Okay. Yep.
But I mean, it's 2014, so I mean, like take that for what it's worth, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because I bet me and a couple of buddies bet Woodland too. The thing about that top 10 that he had, if you look around, I always try to look around it, like try and, and it's easy. It's I don't really remember how Gary Woodland was playing in 2014, but clearly, like the numbers show that his form was good, and I think you look at Gary now, and I mean, he went through that stretch after he won the Open where he was just. Yeah, just sort of, he wasn't healthy. I think he had some stuff off the, had some things going on off the course, and really changed what he was doing. And like I said, I don't put as much stock. He gained on approach at the Players, and then was really, really positive tee to green the previous 2 weeks on this Florida swing. I mean, he makes all the sense in the world. There's a guy who can just stripe it and get real hot with a putter. So at that number, it's a no brainer for me. He was the first bet I made.
Nice. Okay. Good conviction. It's just so interesting to see. Like, again, obviously, Will a little hamstrung, and some of you out there might be as well, but there are 70s out there for Woodland, and then he is 45 in other prominent books. So it's like, if shopping is an option for you, please take advantage and take the time and see what's out there, because it's significantly different payouts. Another guy that we get further down the line that we could not help ourselves. I could not. I have such a sucker for Aaron Wise. He's just stealing money from my family, from my children. It's terrible. But 130 on DraftKings, very different than like some of the 90s. There's a 66 out there for Aaron Wise. When we start to get down the board, Will, I know you've kind of allocated some down here already. Is there anyone else that you're going to do a little bit more research in? Obviously, you haven't fired because, we have about an hour on these lines, but anyone down here that's caught your attention?
We actually I got them up last. I got some the local sometimes does short-term outrights. It's like their initial like fire at I don't know why they do them, but they
just want to maybe get a feel for what people.
I guess. I mean, Gary Woodland's 48 to 1 on here now, and I got a 70 to 1. Wise is 80 to 1 now that it's reopened. Yeah, I mean, can I go back to Mito?
Yeah.
Okay. I got
wherever you want.
125 to 1, and he shows up in the model. I don't even know that I necessarily love him, but he's 10th. Man, like I said, Bez is up there. Maybe a look. I got to see what his odds are.
Pereira, Mito's still 160 on FanDuel, by the way. 160.
I mean, that's like throw
you kind of have to
throw pizza money on it, or coffee money on it, or whatever. Wise, I'm definitely intrigued by, but I'm not betting him at 80 to 1. What's Russell Knox?
Man, he has been playing some really good golf. Best I can see on Knox, 75. There's some 70s, 60s.
Yeah, I mean he can just get. He's maybe more of a live look guy, but I guess he gets so hot that he just surges up he just rips off 5 or 6 birdies in a row, and it's crazy. Kiz is probably not long enough for here. Man, I just noticed that Brooks is 30 to 1.
We go back to Brooks. Ron, he stung us.
No,
that's the guy that went full decaf. He just, you could just tell, kind of the reaction with the,
he's laughing
because
he blasted him. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just trying to look at who's popping in this model. What's Bez at? Sorry, I should be prepared for this, but
no one should be prepared for this.
60 to 1.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah.
Some of the longer shots, I'd have to look into it, but maybe I wouldn't be opposed to going back to Cameron Young, depending on what his number is. Vaughn Taylor plays really well here. And surely Vaughn Taylor is at least 100 to 1, right? Yeah, 140 to 1, which is my max. That they cap these things for some reason. So maybe he's even higher at like FanDuel or something like that. He might be more of a top 5, top 10, top 20 play than a. I don't think he's won here, but I could be wrong. So some equity there. Cam Young, Kokrak we mentioned. Pat Perez is playing really good golf, although he didn't really rate out well in the approach shots. But I mean, the guy just is finding himself in the top 20 like every week. It feels like.
Yeah, Pat Perez is playing.
I know. The other one. This is actually a good one. Let me see what his number is before I give it out.
While you're looking, Vaughn Taylor,
Adam Svensson.
Svensson. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Tee to green, he's been pretty nice. Vaughn Taylor, 430 on FanDuel.
430.
430.
Put $2 on it.
Right? Just to have it.
$5. Yeah. 430.
Yeah. Everywhere else is 200, but 430 on FanDuel.
I'm not betting him at 140 then. I mean, I think Svensson though as a ball striker makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it's like he might really suck at putting, but what we've seen questionable putters at this course just get hot. And so I think that's worth potentially considering.
Yeah, there's some 200s out there for him. Ron, how about, I don't have anyone else down here at this point. Early looks for me were Fitz, Bubba, and Keegan. But, I definitely need to get in some Harold Varner and Gary Woodland after these conversations. Who popped for you in the early model that maybe is worth noting that we need to do a little bit more homework on?
Well, just two guys that are long shots again. I don't understand these prices. Brian Harmon and Patton Kizzire are both 130 on DraftKings. Kizzire is 13th in the field over his last 24 rounds, just overall strokes gained total. Brian Harmon's 24th overall. So both of those guys, Harmon struggled a little bit last week, but both those guys seem to be decent course fits. Obviously, Harmon, if he can get his approach is going to be huge this week. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. So I'm a little shaky with him on that. But at 130, I mean, he's, not the best field in the world. Kizzire too. Kizzire he's so streaky.
Anytime I bet Kizzire, it's like a top 10 and a miscut.
Exactly. So that's
they're both
at 130. At
Yeah.
130, those two jumped out of me right away. So I took both those as well.
Yeah. How about you, Will? Anything that's popped in your early model that we need to do a little bit more homework on?
You know who? I can't believe I'm going to suggest this, but I feel like
I already said Aaron Wise, so like we're totally fine.
Oh, this guy. I'm not going to do it. He's missed like 8 cuts in a row, but he's been like Henrik Norlander. I keep seeing like show up and then disappear, but he's bad on POA and he's really only gaining on approach. Troy Merritt, maybe dig into a little bit. Mackenzie Hughes.
Yeah, I feel like that final round at API throws some of Merritt's stuff off, where he was like dialed in for a couple of weeks, and then he posted like an 88 or something in that fourth round, and that's just gonna skew everything drastically.
What do we make of Thagala posting that third at the Phoenix, and then like I sort of wonder if there isn't some Sam Burns factor there. Yeah. Where he posts the third and then he manages to hang in there and make the cut at the Genesis. But like the third place, the Phoenix Open experience for him was like, you could tell like he was like falling in his parents' or his dad's arms afterwards, like crying because it was so just mentally exhausting to be there in that spot. And he's a much better putter on POA. I don't know if I don't think he's ever played here. And you have some concerns about. I just wonder if like after 3 weeks of struggling with his irons, if they might somehow come back because he sort of gets the two missed cuts. He's getting some break time in, some practice time in. I just sort of wonder if he's somebody to watch it, like probably an enormous number because he at least shows up inside the top 50 of my model.
Yeah, let's see what the numbers we can find on the Gala. 15s. Yeah,
probably huge numbers.
150s.
Yeah.
Pretty.
And again, like that's more of a gut play than anything else. But like basically the same thing happened to Sam Burns last year.
Yeah.
He was in contention. He thought he was going to pull it off at a big course, like a life-changing moment. He collapses and that can mess you. I mean, that can derail you mentally for a few weeks. So maybe Thagala is not a guy you bet outright, or maybe it's a top 20, top 10, and if he shows up, all of a sudden you've got a pretty nice little ticket.
Catch him live, yeah. The problem with him until he turned the corner is that he sprays it off the tee over the last year plus. So that has actually been part of his improvement, though, as we've seen that get closer to field average. So to your point, like this is a young trending player, so like I wouldn't want to necessarily hold his like early career starts.
It's basically just a buy low. And I think Ron had some. I don't know. Did you have something else there, Ron?
No, just one more really quick that popped for me that I just noticed. Martin Laird, he finished 13th in my pre-model. He's got 3 recent top 15 finishes. He's actually gained on approach 10 of his last 11 events, and so he's 180 still on DraftKings, and so he's just another guy who a lot of experience. He's been here before, so he's another one to target possibly.
Great POA putter too.
Yep.
And fairway finder off the tee. So he's going to give himself a chance for sure. So yeah, that's a good call. He definitely probably find a finishing position bet there on Party Marty. So, all right, fellas. Unless you have anything else, I appreciate you. Will, I know this is a tough one to come on again.
No, it's great.
Not Valspar, first outside guest. So
first outside guest and doing it in the middle of NFL free agency. Like if Deshaun Watson got traded right now, I mean, I would obviously just leave, but
apologize.
And, I'm sorry, I have to go. Yeah.
Do the podcast. So,
although it does appear that the Falcons are emerging as a possible destination for Deshaun Watson. 3 NFC South teams. That's awful convenient, Texans. That those 3 teams would be battling for Deshaun Watson. Interesting.
Well, I have a Carolina ticket on Watson,
you get 42 cents down, or is he...
no, I got a whopping, I think it was 5 1/4. So
there you go.
Yeah, I pushed my limits there on DraftKings. Thank you to the fine folks over there. I would love to give you my golf money, DraftKings. You never have the best number on anything, so figure it out.
Are we supposed to give away? Are we supposed to give away something?
We're gonna give something away. We're gonna give away a rope hat somehow. Let's. So in the show notes there is a link to subscribe to our free newsletter. Click on that, subscribe to that, and then send me a screenshot on Twitter at Ryan Noonan of you subscribing, your confirmation to the newsletter if you haven't already done so, and we will enter your name in to win one of these terrific rope BetSperts hats, which are a hot commodity. You basically have to get a job with the company to get it. And even then, that was very borderline. Ron doesn't have one. He works for the company. So these are dicey times for this hat. It is a very, very hot commodity. So we'll spread that on social. And then hit us up. Who is your deep down the board dive this week? Say, let's get outside the top 40 or 40 to 1 or lower, longer odds. Who is a look for you at Valspar? We appreciate it. We already have a subscribe. Look, hey, D-Fresh, you already subscribed. You're in. We're going to add you to the mix to get one of the rope hats. So, again, don't forget to check out Will. Check out the PickSix NFL pod. Again, when that Deshaun Watson news, whatever else is coming, is basically an NFL news story breaking every single day. Props to the NFL for never giving us a day off. Would love to just grind golf solely, but no, they want to keep my interest there in the league as well. So check Will out over at CBS. And again, we'll have you back on for for your boots on the ground events here in a couple of months. So thanks, buddy.
Sounds good, fellas. Thanks for having me. It was a blast.
For Ron and Will, I'm Ryan. We'll see you all soon. Thanks, everyone.